Please click the subscribe button and the notification icon. It will help us a lot.
To be honest with you, I fought it. A lot of us didn't want to do it. A lot of us, we were in love with the craft and the practice of working in paint and pencil and paper and brushes and board. And a lot of us were really, really hesitant about the technology. And the thing is that when the transition happened, and I'm not speaking as an animator, but as a background designer and a background painter, when the transition happened, the tools for us weren't really super sophisticated yet. So working in Photoshop wasn't like working the Photoshop we have now. It was a very different Photoshop. It was like Photoshop 2, and so, or Photoshop 3, and there was barely any Wacom. There was no stylus. In fact, we were painting with the mouse, on the Prince of Egypt. We were doing a little bit of Photoshop, and we were doing it with a mouse. And so, by the time Road to Eldorado came, the very first versions of the Wacom tablet was happening, and it was weird to suddenly not be mixing paint all the time. It was kind of a half and half. Road to Eldorado was half traditional, half digital. So what we would do is we would paint the backgrounds traditionally, but if we needed to, we could augment with sort of computer-generated programs like Photoshop. And I think that one of the things that happened for us is that when you're in 2D animation, and let's say you paint an entire sequence, right? And in that sequence, it's nighttime, and then all of a sudden the story changes, and it says, "Oh, you know what? This is now going to happen in the middle of the day." Well, we may have painted 300 paintings by hand, 20 people, working for months at a time. And when you make a change like that, okay, it's no longer night, it's day. Guess what? You have to go back and repaint every single painting, right? And so one of the things that we immediately realized, at least in the background painting department, was that when those changes happened in Photoshop, we could go back into our paintings and repaint the things that needed to be painted quickly and effectively, and it made us more productive. And so suddenly, or I shouldn't say suddenly, but we were starting to see the advantages of what computers could do in terms of helping make our jobs more efficient. Now, my personal preference is to paint traditionally, but to be honest with you, I love to paint digitally too. It's kind of like I love both. They just offer different things. For an animator, one of the things that is different is that whereas we are creating a background as a background painter, an animator is creating performance, right? And I know that there's a different thing that happens when you're holding a pencil and you're roughing in, the character and the movement. You're feeling it, versus sort of having that performance in your head. And now instead of translating to your arm and your wrist, moving and gesturing and looking in the mirror and capturing your pose or your essence, now you're grabbing your tools and you're looking through your menus and you're orchestrating sliders and points and shifting and moving, and then doing things that are like 10 steps to get to the one that you used to do with a pencil and a paper. And then looking at it, going and flipping through the pages and going, "Oh, that feels right. Oh, that feels wrong. That feels too fast, too quick. No, I need to add another beat." But it's a different thing when you're working in CG because it's a much more complicated step. Now, the end result is spectacular, but it's like the difference between playing a guitar and then being in a recording studio with 100 people and 100 instruments, and you're trying to orchestrate all of them while you're in the mixing booth recording it and putting it down. One is direct. One is I'm playing music. The other is I'm playing the instruments that will make the music that I will then edit and compose and put together to give me the song.